Good morning, Learned Council.
Good morning, Lead Council.
Learned Council.
Good morning, Learned Council.
Welcome back to the TRRC.
Bismillah TRRC Kotange.
Thank you very much.
Numbara.
May I remind you that you are still under oath. And as you very well know, the warnings that I informed you of yesterday still apply. Could you confirm?
Thank you. I remember everything.
Yesterday, we were dealing with your personal experiences of human rights violations during the Jame era. And you have explained some of the personal experiences you had of interference with the judicial work. And you've given us several examples. Examples of magistrates giving certain decisions. The government is not happy with those decisions. And some punitive measures taken against that magistrate.
Me misalo do edol min dina ja wala miti ko kiti bundal la kiti ndirlal melan ko lebe dumala magistrate court ika kiti o kuntu nyala nyaado me alon ko ni ya kuntu abukana dia mansa kunda e tumala men ninga atare sulo soto case nyinto abukada wala fana o kiti tela nyi magistrate o nyim fana ikana deto la kan yo misalo dina.
You talked about your own experience in Basse, wherein you are basically transferred, or starting from Banjul, to be more precise, you were transferred from jurisdiction to jurisdiction because of unhappiness with some of the decisions that you've made.
You are benum Banjul, ye bondi Banjul, ye samba base, ke bondi dingira kiti bunda ro kare samba kiti bunda ro kuka me ya longo ika kangol men kundu ikela kiti ol kundu nyame abukatara abuka mansa kunda men be sirinu abukese wo wala ka sabu ke soundin dingira to kiti bunda.
One example you gave was particularly interesting.
Misal kilindi beje kilindi o misal let me ya longo wode o em sula bakele.
That is the case of the July 22nd movement people in Wuli.
Well, July 22nd mold many along will be Wuli.
People like Kandakase Juara,
Kandakase Juara,
and others.
And in Dokotango.
You then talked about a very interesting case in which you were involved in.
We not in a case do found for Mayalonko, case in the Unyabo water back and Mayalonko, it found Kundung Dunda Conole.
The case of Hamadiso.
Case member Hamadisola case.
That is a very interesting one.
Munya case the amulet Mayalonko and Yabo water back.
And now we started talking about the case of Pahari Jame.
Silang isa damuda hapa hari jamela kuwenyi ala kesi nga damuda wafanana.
And Lamin Jobate.
Lamin Jobate.
And Joguba.
And in Joguba.
Could you proceed from there and tell us about that case? You've gone as far as telling us about the assignment of the case to Justice Inkia.
Sai suke isa damuda ka tentendu wodo ya mutawodo ya fanyela nunga haninka bi case ni wala nyimo sabola case ni biri ya nati ya di kiti tela mena wala Justice Inkiati.
Thank you very much. That was a peculiar case. That is the case of the state against Dr. Njoguba.
Oketa kiti kaokuliti menketa Dr. Njoguba la kitoti.
Because that was the first one. That was the economic crime charge.
Atu wala foloti menketa banko fankatinya tumiroti.
Let's talk briefly about the economic crime law.
Silanga diamu wati sutun kono nga jube nyi fankatinya luwal nyinti.
The Economic Crimes Act,
luwa membe marali nyi fankatinya kunyal.
You'd agree is in fact a revamped dress pretty much. It was a decree and it's now dressed into an act of parliament. Or an act for that matter.
Ibe sonna mala nyinna ko luwa nyi me alongo wolbe nyi fanko kunyal to. Wamu luwa me alongo ikafume decree. And we not na yele mani na na dunna luwa buko nyi kono ikafume act.
Yes, I'll agree with that. It's a decree that was having a double effect on the citizenry.
In fact, its provisions are pretty much antithetical to the human rights provisions of the Constitution.
Yes, I'll agree with it to an extent. That's why I said it has a double effect.
Yeah,
the first is the positive effect of preventing people from abusing their powers and offices and acting in excess.
Follow, a sarto ala lolula bijele men se molu bali kuruya keola ka lana tambo ke ofiso kono ka fanko tinya anin ka kolu ke men ya lon ko ni sarto manta nyola aya se molu bali wala.
But even at that, Mr. Mboge, legally speaking, you could argue that those provisions are redundant because what they seek to do could be achieved by other provisions in the criminal code.
Wolam nyintiko hanu fango amanlo la sotokatu na bankola kruya sartol ni luwalu men be laring ni moyo ku kurum façon luke luwal ni sartol folsio mari kulunole satara amanke ni luwa kutoti tele ni mbanditen.
Yeah, that I will agree with to the extent that the negative effect of the economic crimes decree
mbeso na wala le katuniaji be nyimfankatinya sarto me yalo nditeng ala fanna me yalo ko mukujen ken ya wulinyene kama kamolu dendi men yalo ko wolle kata moluti menuka doyaro ke kulula menuka te kutinyari ngulti menuka bo sembeti wala karola.
And by pretty much including it as a saved act by the Constitution, you basically tied. You cannot challenge its constitutionality in view of the fact that it is already sanctioned by the Constitution.
Arhanika bi komen abelare nyame ko luwa nyinkono ala dero nyinkang luwa buko nyinkono ite gulino la kam yafo ko iba bantambilla nyaado ka kele ka tunga be luwa buko nyinkono.
Yes, you know, in law is very difficult to make conclusions.
Omutonyali kadunie lua lanya dolu jibe akakoleale pour kata koti alfo ko dandula.
Because there is a way out of every situation.
Katu ko kundin lanya keta nyawnya ndi nyama silo bijele isi fintino wakono.
Yeah, I will agree with you to an extent, but then it is possible to challenge its provisions for being unconstitutional and being unlawful when the need arises.
Mbesonna ya fanya men hanfo tukumudoto ka foko kulo men sarto manta wala ni lua manta barbitun silo bijele mosi tukum balano tukum la dami ning ayatara mfutatama hanfo akobulita.
Well, Mr. Mboge, we would leave this debate for some other day.
Thank you very much,
But you agree with me that the test of constitutionality is the Constitution itself.
Yeah, also to an extent, not 100%, because If a law is inconsistent with the Constitution, it is null and void to the extent of its inconsistency.
Kadunia jibe ni lua atatake fenti me ya lonko amallo dula suruna bankola lua sarti bukuba nyinkono wodo mu kuleti me ya lonka silandi karala.
That is a basic rule of interpretation in constitutional law.
Luala karola kala kanna soro nyingo mala ku follow de niya jube luala karola.
That is why I said the test of constitutionality
Wala sabu ko pour luwa nyin ala koto boro
is the Constitution itself.
Wala luwa buko nyim fango timemba kono.
So in order to be able to
ko luwa anin luwa buko ba nyim fango ni ko be fulo nyim ibe kun takila ka jube jumala fon be sabatila.
You have to put it against the Constitution.
Foisa ni constitution no nyim luwa buko ba nyim fango foisa ni ko takki folo ya jube.
Is that not the case?
That is correct.
But when the law is saved by the Constitution, just like the decrees, it is pretty much. It depends on how it is done, but it looks like it has been incorporated into the Constitution. I haven't looked at the provision to see the actual effect of what they have done. But if it is incorporated into the Constitution, you therefore cannot challenge it anymore, because it is now part of the Constitution.
Yes, I will agree with you, Council, again, but
but anyway, let's leave this for another day.
Because constitutional issue, yes.
Yes.
Constitutional quality.
But for now, we just agree that that law is a draconian law.
Exactly. Yeah, part of it, the latter part of the decree, especially on the issue of bail, is where the unconstitutionality arises.
Bari ala fanna do me ya lonko amang akeja uyata wolem alabandula me ya lonko bail ko ba ko mem balanta bail ko la wala famani sartol manta.
And like you said, in spite of its good aspects, it was liable or amenable to abuse by the executive.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I will say rather that it was designed in purpose to silence critics, because anyone in the system then
mesonna ko tonyala ya dada wala kama andunya yitel tama be tamari nyina ko mennu ka doyaro ke kukurun ko la man kabo man sakunda la karola ya wato la ya nyina kama wotilolu kono pour ka o mariolu dendi.
That's a damning statement, Mr. Mboge.
Yes.
Wouldn't you be contented with just the formulation that it was used instead of designed? Because the design and the use may be different. It may have been designed with good faith objectives, with great bona fides, but its application may have been malafides.
Bari iba dadala tumume na kalundi ase keno akatangani ya kendo le kama bari iba tamandi la tumume na doli yake ya kanyile kama nyado nyama purka imuna fangala ka dunola doluka.
Yeah, I have a reason for saying so.
Ngada lilo sotole de purka ofu.
The promulgation of the decree
came
at a time that the then government of the APRC was AFPRC was trying to establish itself.
Afindita tumo na wotumo mansakunda membelori no wotilo lukono memu AFPRC mansakundati iba kataka wotumo le purka isimulu londi kabamba.
And then there were so many critics
andu mo jama sotonta menu be doyaro ke kan
against the military regime.
ben ya lon ko be man sojar man sakunda nyin doya kan.
And it was promulgated at that time when anyone criticizes the system.
Andu ya wuli ya fintindi wo wato le kalondi ko mo womonding yewo kuolu lanya doya,
you become the victim of the act or the law.
to loi wala wasarto ite mari binadu na mantoro konole.
Exactly.
Well, that is a belief you have. I beg to differ.
That was my understanding.
And I beg to differ. For I think the Economic Crimes Act was Decree 33.
Decree 33.
And that was passed very early on in view of the AFPRC mantra of transparency, probity, and accountability. You remember that?
I remember that very well.
And the belief at the time was there was a lot of theft of public resources leading. So it was passed at that time. The objective may have been laudable. But it was seen that it could be used to clobber political enemies. Hence the charge against your clients. Because what would constitute economic losses is quite easy. So tell us about the case. The charge was economic crimes.
Yeah, you know, we have procedures guiding the courts.
But
the then Secretary General, who was supposed to be the principal witness, Tanjoguba,
which Sabali?
Momodu Sabali.
Lata like a fine Momodu Sabali, at least say Dr. Njoguba La Palasoto.
I don't want to say he refused to come to court, but he failed to come to court to testify.
Ntafono deko abalanta le kana kiti bundala. Bari aman silota kana kiti bundala kana sede yaro.
Was he subpoenaed to come?
He should have been a prosecution witness.
Atanyanta kela kiti ndir selo letinu.
But I can recall that we, the defense, have requested for his personal attendance.
Baring hakilo bala nyinako. Ndol menu belori nyin tumi moli ndele nyin kanin buru atena sede yarola.
As what?
As a principal witness for the prosecution.
Ake sede kebati kitindro la karola me ya lonko wala belori nyin mutamolu toyala.
But the ruling went against us.
Of course.
Barinata polu tamandi nyami
it is the prosecution's case.
Wolem ko kitindir bunda nyin wolle la kom.
And he sent someone.
It would have been shocking if the court had ruled in your favor.
He delegated a witness, representative, and that was the only witness for the prosecution. But the funny part of the defense was the diary that was my client's main exhibit.
Diary
I still have that diary with me in my office, where the accused person recorded in his own handwriting the instructions of the former president.
Dameng ni muta mo fangoye kuma kangolu safe a fango bulo la diary mon kono dameng me ya lon ko wolle keta kuma kangolu ti menu bata tumo president bulu ya jamme.
As a defense to indicate that he did receive instructions for the arrest and prosecution of the then Justice Wowo.
Andu wala mnyinti we nyine itandiko ya maroli ya nyine itandiko puru ye mo muta aninka kitindi me ya lon ko tumo wala mkitindi lati kafa me Justice Wowo.
In order to appreciate the import of what you have just said, perhaps give us a brief background into the case. What was the case about?
This was a complex case and it's intertwined.
Break it down into simple facts that we can understand.
Justice Wowo was a judge of the high, in fact, he was a state council. He started as a state council before he was appointed a judge.
Justice Wowo ya damuta tumwe na mansakunda la kitembirlale mwoti wo janing iba tombo na kake kititelati jojoti.
And then while serving as a judge, he was elevated and promoted to the Court of Appeal.
Watu men abo kitite bundala utumole natala palaso la faka selendi kasamba kitisa inkambundala.
Within a short period of time.
Watu sutum fangokonode.
Roughly about 6 months.
Kariworo kasamba kake kitindirla kuntioti wala Chief Justice.
But then the sacking of Hari Jammeh and lawyer Lamin Jobate
bare Hari Jammeh ila bayo atening lawyer Lamin Jobate
was an issue at the time.
Umukuleti wotembo membe loring.
And then from my client's instructions, he was instructed to ensure the arrest and prosecution of then Justice Wowo. But then Pahari was Solicitor General. And my learned senior, Jobate, was a Minister of Justice. And then after the instruction was given by the President, which was recorded by my client on his diary, the instruction was carried out. Wowo was arrested. He was charged. I can't recall the charge. But then there was a change in circumstances. And the then President, Yaya Jammeh, reneged on his instructions and said he did not give the instruction. Because there was a diplomatic issue which arose as a result of the fact that Justice Wowo had an American passport.
He had dual nationality.
Dual nationality. Yes. And then when the American embassy got involved into the case, and raised issues about the legality of his arrest and his trial, and then there was a change of instructions. That he never gave the instruction. That led to the arrest of both Njogu and Pahari and Jobate. And that warranted.
But that could have only given rise to a charge of
abuse of office.
Abuse of office and false information.
abuse of office was a charge.
Ongoing
on the abuse of office.
Kito betama kantumo menna wo tumiro la karola kafo ye timbali ale ke office okono.
Let me ask this question.
How
could have Sabali been a witness?
Sabali became a said
or his representative? How could either of them have been a witness to this case?
Sabali was then the, I don't want to say Deputy Secretary General, but he was a direct assistant to the then Secretary General Njoguba.
Sabali manke Secretary General Tiwotumo de Baribitum
present then when the instruction was given.
Andong atelo moti mem sinan ko be Njoguba kan katotumo ka fanambijele wo kumolo be fola to moment.
I think this was a case where the witnesses would be those who personally perceived what happened. So I wonder how such can be delegated to somebody else.
That was the very reason why we were asking for his appearance, personal appearance.
But that
was not the case. And instead of coming to court, he wrote his statement, gave it to the witness, intended as an exhibit, form the basis of his evidence.
But that is unlawful.
That was the order of the day. That statement was wrongfully admitted.
That is clearly a case of hearsay.
And the diary, because it was not rejected, it was returned.
Diary me ya lonko wole nyanta kala sede bambandi moti kumolu safeta memkono ya manka ko balanta la de bari ya murundile.
I tendered the diary as an exhibit.
Ntengo diary sambale ka ke sede kamote.
It was neither admitted nor rejected.
Bidun imanna songatala bari imam balanga la fana.
But there is no such position as evidence in limbo. You can mark it for identification, but and use it subsequently. And even marked for identification is not used in Gambian practice. It's used in the international tribunals. But there is no repository for evidence in limbo.
Lu osede yar sifa atana lu alfango kon hanna ro daire ni hanni yar nyan isa tano no iba kala no suter langolti but hanna ro suter lang fan dolla lu al tamandri nyaro aten mamira beje ni banku ni benka kiti bundal de wala kay munafal ka ni festival ta ka ke suter lang de ka fme ID bari dolla jang ateje.
The narration is creating a scene
that
will be unfold as we go along. Because even though the then Justice Care was we were very close. But I will simply say there was a travesty of justice in the case. Yeah, because after the rejection of the diary, it was neither admitted nor rejected.
With all due respect, Mr. Mboge, what you've just said is a contradiction in terms. Yeah, after the rejection of the diary, it was neither admitted nor rejected. It's a contradiction in terms.
After the return of the diary, thank you. After the return of the diary, yes. And
wouldn't that amount to constructive rejection of the evidence, if you will?
Oh, kitio kono foto kela nyindi ko apoko wrong. Sede andro nyingi ibalanta ala ko tilimbali akono mo safo.
No. I say constructive rejection of it. Can't it be interpreted to mean that your application to admit the diary was rejected, considering that the evidence was not allowed in?
Well, that was, yes, I will say yes, because that's a constructive rejection of the diary, but I think it was intended also on purpose.
bari ila balango o balango nya pour ka dari dundi mba fala ko ya kemen kama e fansun dalilo soto akama.
Did you file an interlocutory appeal on that issue, if that is appealable? Because I think that was the heart of the case.
Inadna wasida dundi lebang government interlocutory appeal pour ka ko nyin ka senga njube.
There's no time then for interlocutory. Case would have been decided.
Kado hani janning itebe la ku tembendiringulu la ku parendiringulu futandi la kiti sankam bundala obatala lete le kito kundu.
I asked this question just mainly for the purposes of our recommendation.
Jalilo me asabu ngai nyinin karo nyinin ka wala muinte dalilo me ba wala mpurna yamaro nyimbe mendila nyala bawni.
Aren't interlocutory appeals given priority such that I mean, they could easily be disposed of and cases continue?
For nyin sifa nyin dan receiver nyin for manyana sudero dilatela santo jannibe ko fenkela folo kundula folo nyin dan receiver nyin pour leta dum ako nyin kono ka cross folo ay senea.
This is a criminal proceeding.
Nyimu kukurun kitindo kitolete.
Interlocutory appeals are not a ground for a stay of proceedings in the main trial.
We juberi kitindiri silolu kasain kandiri silolu wo buka londino wo kitindiri silolu kang.
And even if we had filed an interlocutory appeal,
natara fang wo wasi façon dundi wo silola,
it will not be heard
ite lamoylala
before we determine the main trial.
Because
I will add here that we know as a team that we are just defending our clients.
Because
it is a legal requirement. But the result, it was obvious. There will be a conviction.
So you just went through the motions?
Yeah, we were just going through the trial, but I know for sure the result will be an obvious conviction. And that was what happened.
Did you at any point in time harbored any expectations that you could secure an acquittal?
We were on the verge of success, get an acquittal. Because the evidence of the prosecution was too weak. And the evidence of the defense was overwhelming. But the trial judge, who was Justice Nkia, I think news got round that he was going to acquit and discharge them. And
on judgment day, you were very hopeful.
I was hopeful 100% that we were going to get an acquittal.
And you went to court with so much hope and euphoria.
Yeah, exactly what happened.
So, and tell us how things unfolded.
Another interesting scenario arose on the judgment day.
Tell us about
Judgment was scheduled for 10 a.m. We were all in court as expected. The judge did not come to court till 1:30. And everybody was anxious, nervous,
where was he?
The judge was in his chambers.
How did you know that?
Well, we were all there, right at the, in fact, we were going up and down between the court and the chambers, asking the clerks about the time. It's time for judgment, but the answer is, my lord is in chambers.
Bari mbele bijenu mbetani nala mbesele ninji wala nkakilako lunyininka watu la kokitite watu sitale bari kajabiro mendina wala mde kitindirla nyimbala ofiso kono.
Was his lordship in his chambers alone?
O atenyen kitite la nying adamala bala nung ofiso kono ba?
Well, the rumor
nga mwela mwe kumo memwe,
which I cannot confirm independently because I did not see it,
was
that there were plainclothes officers in his chambers.
Which service did they belong to?
Well, we believe that it was the then NIA. Because the NIA are following our proceedings on a daily basis.
But
at 1:30 when the judge came to court, he came with a judgment that resulted to a conviction. But the way he walked into the court, delivered a marathon judgment, walked out of the court back to his office, created a lot of doubts about his personal well-being. Because what we are made to understand was that these officers in his chambers had to pin him down to reverse his previous judgment.
Wala mnyinti ko nying officialu menu ma uniform dum menu bala officio kono ya sindile force o kan pour atanyanta kito tela nu nyamin ka wo falling ka kudo kije me yalon ko men kiti atela kiti tinya pareta men nanu men ne wote kilindi.
And I can believe this because I can see it written all over his face.
Adu ngala wala katu hanni ate fango nyada jube ibalon na anyada leto.
And the way and manner he came in and delivered his judgment and out of the court.
Aning anata dum kiti bungo kono nyamen ananya aning ay kumo nyim banke nyamin aning biraye bandi anata finti of kiti bunda kono nyamin wol be mutaman serol le.
So you believe there was judicial interference? Interference in the judiciary.
That was obvious.
What was the basis of the conviction? Was it that letter of supposed letter by Sabali or supposed statement by Sabali?
For yalani nyame na wala nyindiko Sabali
Yeah, that was the only evidence of the prosecution. So obviously that is the only basis of the judgment.
Did you appeal?
No, I did not file an appeal because my client instructed for his own peace and safety and tranquility to let the matter rest.
Man kiti sa inkan kanin ka tun ta fa la kiliano wala na tanyi ya maro diko na koti ja ta fa la tanko anala fansoto anala kairo kan pour na ko nyin tuji.
But another interesting situation arose before the judgment.
When
the Obviously, even the gallery who attend the court knows that these people will end up with an acquittal. And while that trial is going on, to ensure that he is not discharged and acquitted and freed, another charge was leveled against Dr. Ba again. And another abuse of office. And this time that was tried by the Banjul Magistrates Court. Once this was completed, we continued with the one in the Magistrates Court.
Wouldn't judicial economy have demanded that they consolidate the cases?
Oh, kiti bunda ni walman sembo ni sort of pruka in case flow ni beta ke kafundi ni wakaka killing.
The High Court has obvious jurisdiction to hear any matter.
Na kiti bunda ba ni High Court wani ya silo soto le pruka ko kundi lammo ni kitole.
But the reason for the second charge was the anticipation that this man may be acquitted. That warranted a second charge against him. And that went up to ending when it's time for judgment. When the state filed a nollie. Nolly prosecute that they are no longer interested in prosecuting. But that was after serving his 2-year sentence already.
Interesting.
Yes.
But your belief is these are trumped-up charges.
For
what objective?
Yeah, the primary objective of both to ensure that what the former president said was right. He did not give instructions for the arrest and prosecution of Justice Wowo.
Are you saying, Mr. Mboge, that he lied, and in order to cover up for that lie, these people had to go to jail? Attorney General, Solicitor General, and Secretary General of the government?
Exactly.
Secretary General
Yes. Exactly what happened, because the issue of Justice Wowo when the American embassy got involved changed the whole scenario. And they were coming to court on every sitting.
But that was a very expensive cover-up.
Well, it led to the trial of and conviction of all three top government officials. In fact, the most senior civil servant.
Alifa ballet nun katu ila palaso lumenu bebulu amanke dindim palasiti katu memmarata banko do kula bela kunton ko dabe wala kono.
But all these things happened in a climate wherein the executive had little tolerance for defense lawyers who were basically a nuisance to them, or defense lawyers who were pretty much a stumbling block for the government securing conviction in cases in which they were interested in.
Nimbe kera jamane le me ya lon ko akera jamane me alon akera jamane ko lan ko me alon ko be kany mol be taki kitindi executive même santon kolti mambu nyani hormoso to nyi loyal me alon ko le tara lori nyi molie tumi molie hanin kabi kaneke dabula kitiol nyi kono loyal nyi fana hani ko ku fenke ibukana hormone bunya tamanda ko nyi kono.
Perhaps let's not cast it in institutional terms. Let's just call the personalities. Yaya Jammeh.
Nkana samba ni ndoku bunda la sila nga samba mo kunkilina la kula wala Yaya Jammeh
wanted convictions in cases in which he was interested in.
Ala fita ka pour ka sorondiro e soto pour mola melango tumi mola andu atay sulo soto case nyindole.
And had little tolerance for defense counsel who were making things difficult.
Andu loyal mi melango la tara lori go mole tumi mole nyi abuka son woli melango wala bi loro tumi mole abuka son ife wala loro tumi mole.
Yes, I think you are giving a little bit of credence to his reactions. It's a zero tolerance, not little tolerance.
Namera munta telaw balanda ibo nyinyandi kande ka fo little wala demanding ay songo demanding ka man so mume kele wala zero tolerance abuka pare ka wala kumo fo ka wala ko fangota fereng.
He's referring to defense lawyers. I'm saying he had zero tolerance for lawyers.
Awala lawyer lumeni alon ko e ka lo muta molie ate mam pare wala ko fangota la nyawnyandi nyama.
I didn't realize it was that bad, but thanks for that correction.
Can
you give us examples of some of the events that took place which suggest that he had zero tolerance for lawyers?
Well, my colleagues who came before me mentioned some examples. But I was part of the defense team in the Baba Job trial. And we all agreed that the shooting of the then and our senior, learned senior counsel Usman Silla, was as a result of his defense of Baba Job. And the case of my Fati also.
What happened to Mr. Fati?
We were all part of the same team. After Mr. Silla's case and he was evacuated, the next in terms, not seniority because I senior him, but the next in charge of the case
Mr. Silla kola mo du fulanja o membe maralin kito la manke ko atele bente nyato keba yala bari kito nyi nakarola ate be mo le kono menu martala
Mr. Maifati.
Well, Mr. Maifati.
And then I am made to understand that his accident was not a coincidence but designed.
Ala accident moto accident men soto amanke ko kule meya lonko abentafe bari fere city ngolom ye men fero city akama pruka da bondi kolkono
to get rid of him in the defense as well.
Well, kada bondi wo mumolu ye men ya lonko be lori nung mutamoli.
And I got confirmation of this fact.
And unata wo tonya keso sotong
the team that conducted the accident.
Menu family accident of parent Mr. Fati Kama.
You mean the team that staged the accident?
That managed the accident, personally made these confessions.
Many accident of parent my Fati Kama will follow
myself whilst I was in prison.
Who's that?
I can't recall the names.
Mr. Mboge, we can give you a piece of paper to write down the name.
No, I cannot recall the names. But I think my
is that a way out of the situation? You could still write the name down, Mr. Mboge.
No, it's not one. It's a team.
It's a team. Which makes it easier for you. If you can't remember one, you could remember the other.
My learned friend who came before me, Nene Cham, represented them in the court for their mandamos. Compelled their appearance before the court, and they were discharged unconditionally. Was a team of 7 members.
Junglers, NIA personnel, or what?
They don't belong to the junglers. This is another group that is conducting massacres, accidents, carrying out personal attacks against critics in any way. As long as they are given instructions, they carry it out.
Menu be mo fala nu kamolu boyinkang kamolu tajireya atutal drong kangole buluni kango di tolla drong ye kuma o kuma fay toliye amunta tel ni wala kawli kata bara wala.
Do you recall the name of the group?
Kafo nyinga to ya hakilo ya mutalaba.
I know they are within the army.
Na lon ko be sojar bundale kono.
But they were moved from the main from the barracks
to
the state house.
Ye be samba state house.
So they were among the state guards.
Italta state guard mansa kantarla le kono.
And what kind of uniforms did they wear?
They don't wear uniform. They don't wear uniforms. And I can tell you how they even... Sorry?
Who was the leader of the...
No, this is what I'm saying. I can't recall the names because I wrote even their stories down on a piece of paper. I lost papers, I can remember the stories.
I'll give you a list of names and tell me whether any of them rings a bell.
Isina fonye ko fo nyimol be nyinu tol mem fole fo mobe sorole kono la mamelan ko abulade sondo mo kon
Musa Jame. No.
Tumbul Tamba.
No, I know all those ones. Not
Sadamanja.
Sadamanja.
No.
Nuhabaji.
No.
Ali.
Fansu Nyabali.
Fansu. The name sounds familiar. That Fansu. I think Fansu was one of them. I think I can recall that name. Because they were detained in Mile 2. I found them there. And they were coming individually to come and tell me their own story.
They were junglers.
All right. I didn't know they were junglers, but I know they had jeeps.
By jeeps you mean 4x4?
Military jeeps.
And
they have taxis.
They
have vans. They have trucks. And these were the vehicles that were used to coordinate the accident of Mr. Fati.
But this method of eliminating enemies by way of staged accidents or vehicle tampering was not limited to just Mr. Fati.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Could you give us other examples where you believe these methods were used?
I had the personal experience myself.
Tell us about them.
Well, the first one was I believe an NIA officer.
Follow, lata la ko, NIA dukula.
Name?
Oh.
Well, at the time, I didn't know the name.
But
through my own investigations, I later realized it was Mr. Lamin Bojang.
Residing where?
The first attempt was even at my house.
Which year was that?
Sanjuma.
In Brikama, this was in 2006.
2006
during the treason trial.
Of which case?
Bunja Dabo and Co, Farin Sanyang and Wasa Kamara and others.
Bunja Dabo, Farin Sanyang, Wasa Kamara, Ninkotangol Lakito Beke moment.
Where were the proceedings holding?
At the Yundum Barracks. Yes, Yundum Barracks.
Yundum Sojar Cordalto.
Proceed. What happened?
I already started my Maghrib prayers when my sister ran to call my attention. There was somebody in my car.
Where was the vehicle parked? Inside your premises or outside?
The vehicle was inside my compound.
Was it a fenced property?
The property is fully fenced with a gate. But I cut my prayers. Whilst coming out, I had the bang of the door. When I came out to the gate, I saw this vehicle zooming off with top speed.
Can you describe the vehicle?
It's a four-wheel. It's all black with tinted glasses and without a number plate.
What did you learn from that?
Well, at the moment, I immediately sensed that this is a plan execution of an evil.
By who?
Well, I suspected then that it was the NIA. I don't know the person. Because I knew then that they drive those sort of cars. But then my mind just tells me to let it go, because it's not safe to chase somebody who's trying to put you in trouble. You have chasing trouble, so I let it go.
Katu moment lafta nyoma sibajo kelete marila purka obai ima kalangolong amankwe.
But that was not the end of it, was it?
No, certainly not.
Hani amanda wotode.
Proceed.
The second time, another plan execution like that was during my trial at the Banyan Magistrates Court. I parked my car outside the court, went to the court, and came back at the end of the case. And I was going home with my family in the car. But then my tire was shaking. And I could feel from the steering that there is something wrong with the vehicle. Then I could not stop inside Banjul to check.
Mallo no Banjulu sate okono purka jube.
I drive until I got out of Banjul.
Namoto borindi wanyala fom fintita Banjulu.
And stopped to check my car.
Lota purka namoto jube.
My tires, bolts were all loose.
Namoto simula bulongolu yewlu be yom fandile wotumo.
And 2 have dropped already, only 3 were remaining.
Fulo be jolon telefang amonta sabole tuta dinkirato.
For each of the tires, for each of the wheels, or just one?
Only
the driver's side.
Drive for la caro drong.
And then I called my family in the car to come and see as witnesses.
Nanna dimbaya lukumandi menu bemfe motoko no puri fanali finti yenaje kesedoti.
And that rang a bell in my mind. That the NIAs are following my case on a daily basis. And this could be another trap to get me involved in an accident.
And there would be a third time.
Certainly, yes. Certainly, yes.
Tell us about that.
This was also during the treason trial. It was time for Tobaske. And I was going home to the village. And I had my whole family in the car. But then the vehicle was loaded, fully loaded with I can't even more than 11 people. All the seats were occupied. I packed even the boys at the boot. But then, due to the load, I could sense from my steering when I started driving that there is a problem with my car. I stopped and checked the tires, but none of them was shaking. It was dark. It was after Maghrib prayers. I didn't notice that my bolts have been loosened again. And this time it was the rear tires. So I was driving again, and still I sensed that the car was not driving normally. Because it was shaking at the back.
Was it overload? I mean, for a 7-passenger vehicle to carry 11 people.
It's not only the people. I loaded a lot of stuff in the vehicle, and even the roof of the vehicle was loaded. But then I, just out of caution, drive safely and carefully. But when I finished Kalaji, then the tar road stopped at Kalaji. But wotumo mano danta Kalaji le. Between Brintata Hanfo no mano bang Kalaji. And then I entered Kiang. Ndunta Kiang. Then there is gravel and the road was bad. And wotumo bere silo sila nseleta walekang adun silo nyimambete. And I was driving, I just had my car boom on the ground. Mbemoto burindi kantena tamuna moi. When I got down, I couldn't find my tires.
You couldn't find your wheels?
My wheels. And it was late and dark.
And
it was raining at the same time. But I had no choice.
Well, I would understand if the tires had busted. Then maybe we could say it's weight.
Yes.
But for the wheels to wheel away.
Away from the vehicle. And then the
how many wheels?
The two back tires went off. Because the first went this way and the second went the other way.
You believe your car was fingered?
Nah, that was for sure, for definite. And I will tell you again why. I came to realize that this officer who was, to me, assigned and personally monitoring me, he passes through my gate at Maghrib time, when it is dark. And this time around, I parked my car outside. After loading it, I went to pray Maghrib and then came out to start my journey to the village. So again, it occurred to me that it could be the same person who is just trying to make me crash and have an accident. That is it.
And it seemed that during that time you were basically prone to accidents.
Yeah, not from natural causes anyway.
Accidents are never caused by natural causes. Vehicle accidents are not caused by natural causes. They're caused by people. What happened? What happened in the first instance?
Yeah, several. After those 3 attempts, this time it was a taxi at my gate again, at night again, and at odd hour. Then everyone was in bed.
Around what time?
This was between 11 to 12.
And what happened?
I went out for a mission. And I came back between 11:30 to 12. And when I approached my gate, and the full lights was on my gate, this taxi was parked at my gate. There was a driver inside, and there was somebody between the vehicle and my gate. Well, this time it was digging. And I don't know what it was for. So when I approached, the one digging got into the vehicle and drove off again with speed. So when I got to the gate, obviously I saw the marks.
Or the hole?
The hole already, because he started digging. But
did you see anything in the hole?
No, he could not complete the mission. So I just went in, I stood and looked at the vehicle. I could see it zooming with speed. And then I went home and I could not wake anyone because everyone was in bed.
How did you feel with all these incidents? What impact did they have on you?
Yeah, just making you more cautious. Because it's not out of fear. Because if you have faith, it's difficult to get you harmed.
But faith does not shield you from fear, does it?
It's fear that will expose you to the harm. When you have faith in God, you don't fear anybody. You don't fear anything.
Were you apprehensive of the situation? Were you worried for your safety and security?
Yeah, that is obvious. I was worried. I was worried, but not afraid.
And more serious things were to happen later.
That is
about it.
This time it was around 2016. Was the end of the Denya Jame regime. And in particular, in December 2016.
December 2016.
I got news myself that some lawyers were being listed for possible arrest to ensure that there is no one available to swear in the incoming president. I heard of SM Tambidu, LS Kamara, and myself. But then I had already moved from Brikama at this time to Kanifing.
But before then, let's talk about your accident.
Yes, that's another very, very interesting accident. Because it's difficult, really difficult, because this time it was a real attempt on my life. This was a truck, 10-wheel truck. And I up to date. I don't know the driver. I don't know the owner. Not seen them. None of them has been arrested. Neither prosecuted. So the accident just went. This accident occurred in August 2016 whilst I was going to work. And I don't know exactly what happened because I was trying to make a call. I just had.
Who was driving?
I had a driver then. I just had a bang on my car. And all I can hear from people around is, he's dead, he's dead. And the news went round that I was dead in an accident. But then God saved my life.
Bari alale niwo kanandi.
Because I would have been dead.
Kato aketa nyamin asekeno le ngafaje.
If not for only God's will and design.
Namanke Allah Ta'ala la makoiro ning ala tankandiro kanti.
Because the truck would have climbed over my vehicle.
Kato moto nyingo moto ba asiseleno le nunna moto kang.
And smash everyone inside.
How many
people were in the vehicle?
I was with my wife and all my kids.
I hope this time not 11 people in the car.
No, not this time, because then I was going with my brothers as well.
How serious was this accident?
This could have resulted to the wiping out of not myself but my family as well.
How many people?
We were 5.
How serious was the accident?
This truck was driving at a speed of not less than 80 kilometers.
Kilometer tansayolale minute wo minute.
And my driver was also rushing to catch up with the 9 o'clock case I had.
Aduna driver fanambe hawjari wotu mo puru nse futa wairi wotu mo talang kononto kito bembulu nyanta menkela.
Now, due to a sudden break in front of him,
yo bari lo sangarale nata ke atenyato.
He swerved on the left.
Atenata jenke mara karola.
I was sitting on the passenger side.
Ndebe siring pasaso sidulal to drive bala.
And in a flash of a second,
adum nyakati ni nyayelo kono.
This truck was over my head.
Nyimoto bente kunto santo.
The noise was so much that it's like a bomb.
And
all you could hear was that he's dead, he's dead. But the tire of the truck climbed over the tire of my vehicle. And that's why the truck could not climb over me. But due to the speed of the truck, it had to drag my vehicle up to almost 10 meters from the scene. Pushing my car like that up to a fence. And that's where the driver could stop his truck. But I could see the bumper, the truck over my head.
Bari moto nying ala bompa wala minte ala kubero membe komala no jeng kuntole.
That is how serious the accident was.
Yin accident go jawiyata tenne.
Were you conscious throughout?
Oh, waro be ibe fambulle ba.
Yeah, I was conscious.
Manketu mbenyala mbemfambu.
My son was on my lap.
Ndimma be siring wutol le kan.
His head smashed on the dashboard.
I
got three fractures on the head. I myself, I didn't realize that I got a fracture until I wanted to get out of the vehicle. When I realized that I had a fracture. But then those who came to the scene to help me out did not open the doors because they were all smashed. I had to improvise to get myself out of the vehicle.
How could you survive that impact? What isolated you from the impact of the car? from the impact of the hit.
Of the truck.
Did
your vehicle have airbags?
No, there was no airbag in the car. It's I was wearing my seat belt. That saved me, and that's why my son went over and hit the dashboard.
Hold a kid, or place a kid on your lap sitting in the front of a car. Mr. Chair, we take the first break and we will return later.
Thank you, Council, and thank you, Mr. Mboge. You will come back in 30 minutes. 12:30. Thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned.